This video is a follow-up response to Austin McConnell's video about how he made a feature film that stunk. Well, I did the same thing, I think. This is the story of Standoff, a movie that almost didn't get made, that actually got made, but maybe just shouldn't have gotten made. Today, I will tell you the story about how I made a feature-length film, and let you be the judge of that.
The infection is spreading. We may be the only survivors left.
The year was 2012, and I was in my senior year of high school. Prior to even writing the script for this movie, I had been heavily into film and video making since 7th grade in middle school. My dad gave me his Sony mini DV camera he used to take vacation videos. Well, actually, I used to ask to borrow it all the time to make videos with my friends, and he may have just reluctantly gave it to me. From there, I went on to make lots of different action fantasy-esque short films and eventually 2 Legend of Zelda fan films. I then got accepted into an artsy high school where there were different majors to enroll in. Yes, this high school, there were majors. You could major in drawing, music, theater, and communications. Being that I loved film and video in grade school, it only made sense to pursue it in high school given the opportunity, and of course I continued to make short films and other videos throughout high school. Fast forward to junior year, and my dad got me an HD Sony Handycam. After making many short-form videos, finally in high definition, and slowly reaching 2012, my senior year, I saw this as the perfect opportunity to make a brand new feature film, since my last feature film was a Legend of Zelda fan film from 2008 in 480p. My young, naive self was ecstatic at the idea and quickly began thinking, what kind of film should I make? A new camera meant a new me. I didn't want to do another action fantasy styled film. Well, I did. I really did. But I felt this underlying pressure to make something outside of my happy place. I thought I needed to do something different, to step outside my comfort zone and experiment in an area I knew absolutely nothing about. I decided that I would make a zombie horror film. Oh boy, I was in for it. Now, this idea didn't come out of the blue. Me and my neighborhood friends used to play this game in an abandoned building called Infection. The game was simple. Get a group of friends, 2 of them start off inside this desolate rundown building as zombies. The rest of the group goes in as survivors. The zombies have to tag the survivors to turn them into zombies until one person is left. So basically it was the zombie apocalypse version of Manhunt. Those friends and I had always talked about making a zombie movie, especially after playing this game, Infection. So it only seemed natural that my next feature film would be a zombie movie. But honestly, what really influenced this decision was the fact that the film community in my city was heavily into horror. I mean, the biggest local festival at the time was called Buffalo Screams, and I felt compelled to follow the bandwagon. After months of writing the script in my senior year of high school, I started to enter the production phase. But what I believed to be my biggest mistake was not considering the feedback people had given me about the script. Holding my first 90-page script in my hands gave me this feeling of surrealism, full of pride and accomplishment. To me, I was happy with the script. It had action, it had zombies, it had influences from series that I loved, such as James Bond, Left 4 Dead, and 28 Days Later. But it lacked many things. Things I didn't understand, things that I did understand but refused to change because I felt like taking feedback would for some reason make the movie less of mine and more of someone else's idea. I wish I would have listened. Through Facebook and through friends, I assembled the ultimate cast for the ultimate movie. That's what I thought anyways. The cast was great. Everything I had seen them in really sold me on the idea to have them in the film. I couldn't have been happier. But when it came down to shooting, did they feel the same? I'm sure everyone aboard knew I was some inexperienced high schooler way over my head trying to make a full feature-length film, and they wouldn't have been wrong for thinking that by any means. But for some reason, they believed in me, and were willing to work on the project, and to this day I'm still incredibly thankful and honored to have worked with them. Oh yeah, I also decided that I would do everything on this movie myself, except for acting and makeup work. For whatever prideful reason, I wanted to prove to myself that I can make a movie with as limited help as possible. I decided I would be the writer, director, producer, editor, cameraman, and audio guy for this, as I had been in all my other projects. However, this was a feature-length film. My very first legitimate film with a fully written script and people who actually did acting professionally. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. To make a long story short, somehow, I managed to shoot 4 major parts out of 10 before everything went to hell. My budget was around $500. Oddly enough, the problem wasn't money-based. It was Murphy's Law. After the 4th major scene we knocked out, things took a turn for the worse. Our shooting days kept getting rained out, and being an introverted high school student, I didn't have access to many alternative locations. Reshoots got rained out, regular shooting days got rained out, and eventually the cast schedule didn't line up anymore since we went past the days we were supposed to be finished shooting by. People couldn't be available, some actors were moving, and things got extremely complicated quickly. With high school graduation coming up and the workload high school puts on you when you're a senior trying to get into college, I had to pull the plug on the project. All the hard work from the cast and crew, which really just consisted of non-film friends who helped me out on set, had to be laid to rest. I was devastated. It felt equally as heartbreaking as a breakup. My chest literally cringed at the thought of bagging up the project and no longer being able to continue work on it. It hurt a lot.
Action.
All right, we're here.
Now we fast forward to the next year, 2013, where I got accepted into a highly competitive film program at Buffalo State College that only accepts 15 students from around the world each year. Yeah, that sounds pretty pretentious. It was during my first 2 semesters at Buff State that motivated me to try again. After learning from my professors and being around like-minded individuals who truly cared and had a passion for film, a fire sparked in me. While I made a few new friends and connections, I obtained new resources. Updating from an HD Handycam to a Canon T3i DSLR, for example, I felt ready to take another crack at completing Standoff. At this point, I had mentally and emotionally recovered from post-failed project depression and had began writing things back in the action fantasy genre. I was already working on a brand new feature film script in that genre, which was much bigger and ambitious than Standoff. There was magic, sword fights, horse riding, robots, and being that it was an action fantasy adventure film, I had extreme excitement for making it. I was finally back in my element of passion and comfort, but I felt that if I couldn't do Standoff, how was I going to tackle this project? I didn't want to be a quitter. Because of this thought, I still don't know if I made the right decision. But I knew that if I didn't make Standoff, I wouldn't really have a right at making another feature film ever again. To me, it was like trying to pass level 2 before passing level 1. Sure, I could have skipped to level 2, but I would have felt empty and undeserving of the rewards beyond level 2 for not have fairly beaten level 1. I needed this to feel fair. I needed to prove to myself that A, I wasn't a quitter or a failure, and B, that I had what it took to do a legitimate feature film. After all the things that I should have learned in my freshman year of college after high school should have taught me something, right? With the help and motivation of my new college friends and professors, I started pre-production again. The entire movie had to be recasted since the original cast was no longer available, and props and costumes had to be rebought. I was starting from scratch. The only thing that remained from the 2012 version of Standoff was the script. Well, that and a few clips that I repurposed from the original 2012 movie into the one that exists today. Like before, my pride still hung on. I had incredible colleagues who were so much more gifted at writing than I could have ever hoped to be help me with the script. They gave me notes. Most of them pretty much rewrote the entire story differently, probably for the better. Of course, I saw opposition to this, but I felt somewhat convinced. I compromised by adding or subtracting certain ideas that allowed me to salvage the story while incorporating a few of their suggestions so that it still felt like 99.9% of my original idea. And for that, I should have been fired as the writer. My focus and goals changed. What became this idea to make an awesome zombie flick turned into this lifeless gray goal of having to get the movie done so that I could feel better about making the next one. That's what I feel it came down to in hindsight. I refused to change the script, and I lacked major passion for the overall story and characters, and I just wanted to get it done and out of the way. What was really motivating me was the idea of doing a feature film to say that I did a feature film and didn't give up in the end. While the latter that may sound honorable, the truth is, one of the lessons that I learned here is that you should always make the things that you're passionate about. Always. Production for this new iteration of Standoff took place in the summer of 2013, when college break was on and I worked a summer job doing construction. How my 18-year-old self managed this is still beyond me. I was still adamant about playing every role on set, but I did bring on some new people to help, people who actually knew what they were doing, which really did help, but their involvement was limited, especially that I was working with a budget of less than $1,600. It was an exhausting 6 months of shooting. From May to October of 2013, we somehow managed. So much went right and so much went wrong. It was the most stressful thing I've ever done in my life, even to this day. Just like George Lucas when he did Star Wars, I experienced chest pains. Thankfully, none of them took me to the hospital, but at the same time, no one knew or knows about it to this day. Unless they're watching this video, of course. Unlike Mr. McConnell, I did say thank you to everyone who helped out on the project, probably to an embarrassing fault. In fact, and this is also a result of me being introverted, I had a really hard time dealing with people on set. Here's the thing. Regardless if people like the movie or not, I had to face one of my biggest fears making this film, and that's social anxiety. To this day, I don't think I'm the best with people, especially trying to play director. I'm pretty awkward, nervous, and frightened of negative criticism. But doing something like this not only helped with that, but made me realize that if you're truly passionate about something and have a goal that you're not trying to give up on, there isn't a damn thing that can stop you. But you have to make it that way. I suppose the stress and anxiety that doing something like this caused pushed me into a different mindset. While I was always timid and shy, nervous about challenging opposing ideas to mine, and just overall too soft-spoken, I did get to face a fear of mine, which made the next projects I would work on later just a tad bit easier. So if everything else is a failure regarding this film, at least to me, I know that I walked away with a small victory. However, I will suggest that if you're going to put that much work to the point where it nearly kills you mentally and emotionally, make sure it's worth it by working on an idea you're insanely connected to. No more gray goals. After 2 years of editing, the film finally came out. Yes, it took 2 years to edit and 3 years in total to complete, with work and school going on. Standoff publicly released at the Amherst Theater on August 20th, 2015 at 7:30 p.m. My 4-year journey from officially writing the script in 2012 to editing the last frame in 2015. That journey was mostly complete. After the premiere, I sent it off to festivals and distributors thinking I would get a call to be the next Steven Spielberg. Let me say that did not happen at all. I sent Standoff to around 25 festivals in total, spending about $500 for that alone, separately from the $1,600 I used up for the budget. About 5 of them accepted the film, and it won probably about 4 awards, so I guess that's pretty cool in its own right. Even with a number like that, I felt confident to try and get a distributor to distribute my movie. I sent it to many independent film distributors. However, the ones who actually got back to me pretty much said the same thing, that my film would be better off being self-distributed, and hearing that really sucked. This discouraged me from doing anything with the movie for a while, in fact a few years. After reflecting on it during that time for a bit, I finally decided that I would self-distribute the movie. During production of the movie, I had promised the cast and crew that the movie would get made and that something would happen with it. My thought was that I would make this movie and Hollywood would be begging at my doorstep to sell it and get me to direct the next Conjuring film, or something of that nature. Of course that didn't happen. After some research and reflecting, I decided that I would self-distribute Standoff on Amazon. So we fast forward to 2019, where I officially established my production company as an LLC. Standoff officially released on Amazon in May 2019, almost a year to when this video is being made. It's up there right now to this day, and it's seen some sales. While I'm sure the only people buying it are the family and friends of the people in it, I'm extremely overwhelmed with the joy when I see that someone has purchased my little $10 indie film that I started in 2012. I know it's not the next Citizen Kane by any means, but the journey of creating it at least means something to me. It's taught me many, many, many things, and has given me the strength to work on bigger projects. While Standoff may be technically a commercial failure at the time of making this video, I believe I gained so much more in terms of personal value than money could have ever given me. That experience alone, for me, was enough to warrant all the hardships and the development hell period this project went through. So why the title of the video? Well, I had the fortune or misfortune of seeing how an audience perceives my film. People that I've shown the film to, and even during its world premiere, I felt it didn't get the reactions I wanted from an audience. Moments that were supposed to be funny didn't always get a laugh, and moments that were supposed to be serious or genuine usually got laughs. I'm also able to view the retention from any sale I make from the film. And while Standoff hasn't sold a whole lot, the people buying the film seem to average in about 15 or 20 minutes of view time before they stop watching this hour-and-a-half film, which tells me they probably lose interest while watching it. I've had honest people and even close friends of mine tell me what they thought of the movie, and some of it has been discouraging, but some of it has also been uplifting. Currently though, I'm able to look at Standoff from a new perspective, an objective one now. I'm aware that some people genuinely like it, and some people think it's absolute dog shit. I'm okay with both views. I don't reject the praise or the hate that I've received after making this movie. It was an experience, one that I'm happy that I got to do, one that I feel was necessary. To me, it served its purpose. To everyone else, I feel like I may have let a few people down in some regard. I have to be honest with myself. The film didn't have much potential outside of a local audience from the start, and that's no one's fault but mine. Everyone else did their part, and they did it extremely well in my eyes. My issues with my own film come from my end of things. Directorial choices, edits, the writing, camera movements, all things that I put myself responsible for. While the world premiere turnout was great, I have my friends, my family, and the people who were involved, and their friends and family to give all the credit to. They're the ones that this film was for. To see their blood, sweat, and tears come to life on the big screen and not get canned as an unfinished project is some sort of victory, I like to think. Some films don't even get finished, but I'm pretty proud that this one did. Honestly, I can't tell you if this movie stunk or not, since I can't see the movie the same way you do, the same way the cast does, the same way the extras do, the same way someone who was paid to work on it versus the person who volunteered their time to work on it. In the end, it's all subjective and biased. I can't force you to like it or dislike it, or see things the way I see them. What I can say is that I hope that this story about the making of a story has provided you with some sort of insight or foresight on the creative process of film, or really any art medium for that matter. For all you filmmakers out there, or people who just want to create things in general, I hope you're able to walk away with some sort of useful information that you can apply to your own projects or even real life. Remember that story is the most important thing. Don't be a one-man band. Don't let pride keep you from collaborating with amazing people even if their ideas differ from yours. Always work on things you're truly passionate about, and always thank and appreciate the work people do for you despite the quality and consistency, especially if they're volunteering their valuable time. I'd like to thank everyone who made this movie a reality one last time, since to me, they're the real MVPs for having to put up with me and my, and I quote, art. And a special thanks to you, the viewer. If you've gotten this far into the video, your open ears for my story are very much appreciated, so thanks. This is the director of Standoff, Joseph Springer Jr., signing off. Peace out.